Present.
I need approval of the regular meeting agenda.
So we'd like to make an amendment and move item 10.8 to be in place of 10.2.
To 10-2. So just swap them?
We can just go in order, just move 8 to be the second item, and then carry on through as the rest of the our.
Okay, I see. Don't have to have a solar lady here for the whole thing?
Perfect.
Okay, we will do that. Moving 10.8 to 10.2.
There's a special one.
Can I get a motion for that?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none.
Mr. Davis would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment for items that are not on the agenda? Person wishing to speak on a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. However, no action will be taken until placed on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and please sign in at the podium. None? Okay, we'll move on. Special presentations and hearings.
I'd like to make a motion to table items 6.1 through 4 until the next meeting.
We're not there yet.
You're at number 6, aren't you?
Yeah, first we gotta do ED.
So you want to table all of the
Oh,
hearings?
I don't know.
Yeah, the whole thing.
6.1 through 4.
1 through 4, items 6.1 through 4. To allow my counsel to prepare an answer to these accusations.
6.3 and 6.4 are regarding disciplinary action. 6.1 and 6.2 are regarding detention.
So the disciplinary hearing.
So 6.3 and 6.4.
Both of them? Because one is specific
Until
to
the next hearing. At that time, I'll have a response from my lawyers.
and you want to table Director Beatty's as well.
I don't know, that's up to him.
So we have a motion to table 6.3 and 6.4. 6.3 is regarding Director Smiley and 6.4 is regarding Director Beatty.
I need a second.
I need a second.
A second.
To table both.
To table Director Smiley's comment.
So
Would you like to amend that, his motion to just be 6.3?
Not including you.
Yeah, not including me.
Okay, so it'll be 6.3.
So we have a motion to table 6.3 by Director Smiley, seconded by Director Beatty. Vote?
Let's do a vote. Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Davis?
No.
Director Beebe?
Yes.
Director Green?
No.
Director Sangster?
No.
All right, well, I want to put plenty of notice here, since we're not going to do that. My next move is going to be called the Telegram Tribune and have an interview with them. My next move is going to be to file a lawsuit against Director Green and Ashley. To sue them personally for their remarks. And a suit against the district for hostile work environment.
We move on to 6.1. item is heard in accordance with AB 2561, which mandates public agencies conduct a notice public hearing each fiscal year prior to budget adoption to present information on the status of their job vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. The staff will now present information complying with and provide transparency related to these considerations. The public will be afforded an opportunity to speak and provide their testimony and comments during the comment period of this hearing. The staff will now provide a general presentation.
So Assembly Bill 2561 was introduced to address the issues of job vacancies in local government. Essentially what it's requiring is a notice of the number of vacancies, assuming a higher than 20% vacancy rate in full-time positions, any identified obstacles in hiring to fill those positions, and any obstacles or issues in regard to recruitment or retention of personnel to keep those vacancies filled. Currently, the district has 9 authorized and budgeted full-time positions. The only positions that are vacant currently are the 3 utilities for wastewater operator lead, wastewater operator, and field operator and utility worker. So four utilities. Generally, we have a hard time attracting qualified applicants due to our pay. Given our proximity to other agencies that offer more mobility and higher pay, and in some instances, better benefits, we generally are able to hire people without licensing, which all those positions require licensing. They get licensing and then they move on to other positions with other firms or with other agencies. That's kind of how it's been the entire time I've been with this agency. There's not a whole lot we can do about that. We're always going to be small, and there's always going to be somebody else paying more. So basically that's where we're at, because we're experiencing a higher 20% vacancy rate. This is required. There's not really any action aside from allowing public comment. Attached in the packet is a letter from SCIU in regard to the represented positions. All the vacancies are represented positions. For your review, aside from that, we can take board comment and public comment.
So question, if we didn't have 20% or higher vacancy rate, would this be required?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
No, it is. Once it hits 20%, then you're required to allow the represented partner or bargaining units to also make a presentation, and you have to include specific information in your report that they ask for. So once you hit 20%, there's just more things that go out, but you have to do this every year before you adopt the budget from now on.
There you go.
Okay. Board comments?
What are we doing to try to retain employees?
So we don't have a lot of tools to retain employees. We do offer paid training, paid licensing, to the extent possible, a positive work environment. It really, for a lot of them, it comes down to the amount that they can make somewhere else for a similar position. A lot of younger people use this as a stepping stone to get in and then get licensed and then move on. It's not, aside from providing better benefits, there's not a whole lot we can do to incentivize people to apply and work here.
Board comment?
I have comments. I know we just had 2 employees leave, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said one of them left for another job, and you said that you terminated the other one.
Yes.
So, I've said it before, Kelly, and what we're paying these guys isn't that bad pay, and they have good benefits and so on. And so, in my opinion, I think what would be a good thing to do is to ask Mr. Kardashian. He's had employees work for him for 40 years, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it's not only the pay, it's how they're treated. Do they feel like they're part of the team, and so on. And so on. So I think I would, and then at one time, you were having problems with 2 of the employees and the guy at the fire station. And I remember you specifically, you requested, and I think you got $30,000 to bring someone in to take care of your employment problem. So, like I said, I just really think it isn't a matter of paying more money or anything like that. It's a matter of forming a team that works together. That's all.
Any other board comment? All right. At this time, we'll give an opportunity for a presentation by the department head. Is there anyone from the CIU present to provide a presentation or testimony?
They were not going to make it tonight, or they're out of town, so that's why they provided the written comment, which is included in the packet.
Yeah. Okay. Members of the public are now invited to provide their testimonies related to this item. As part of the public hearing process, we request that each person who speaks give their name and address and also enter it on the sign-up sheet at the podium. Any public comment? No. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any final board questions or comment? Okay, we'll move on to the next item then. Okay, this is the time and place for a public hearing relating to the district's proposed approval of the adoption of the operations and maintenance budget, capital improvements project budgets by resolution 2025-12. The staff will now provide a general presentation regarding the confirmation of the SMCSD operation and maintenance budget for fiscal year 2025-26. The public will be afforded an opportunity to speak and provide their testimony and comments during the comment period of this hearing.
Thank you. This is a continuation from last month where you guys saw the initial, or saw the budget for the first time for the next fiscal year. This is the final opportunity, barring any major changes, for the board to comment. The numbers in the report have been updated. We're currently at 75% of the current fiscal year. As of the end of March, the end of March, the projected budget for the fire department for fiscal year 25-26 is $742,631 of revenue and $742,127 for expenses, leaving a net balance of $504. The projected budget cost for the fire department are $10,500. Lighting has a budgeted revenue of $170,438 and budgeted expense of $170,302, leaving a net of $136. And zero current project costs, but that will change in the next couple months. Wastewater has a budgeted revenue of $2,239,933 and budgeted expense of $2,382,555. Oops, I'm sorry, that was one. Budgeted revenue of $2,516,256 and budgeted expense of $2,515,776, leaving a net of $480. Water has a budgeted revenue of $1,098,889 and an expense of $1,098,751, leaving $138 net. solid waste has a budget revenue of $43,936 and then budgeted expense of $43,923, leaving a whopping net of $13. Across the entire district, the total budget for 25-26 is a revenue of $4,572,150 and an expense of $4,570,879, leaving a net of $1,271, with total project costs of $720,500. In the report, there's a list of current projects, including the wastewater treatment plant, temporary housing unit, San Lawrence Terrace water tank pump station, sanitary sewer lining and manhole rehabilitation project, replacement utility vehicle, replacement sewer video camera system, cost of rate studies, annual water meter replacement, water tank inspection and repair, septic to sewer conversion program project, office traffic safety grant, and a future project of fire station renovation. The prior projects are all projects that were previously approved and are moving forward in some form or fashion through this fiscal year and next fiscal year. Some of them will be terminated potentially by the end of this fiscal year or early into 25-26. From the budget that you guys saw last month, there's minor changes. Total amounts didn't increase. There was some shifting between specific objects. If you guys have any specific questions about objects or overall questions, we can answer those.
Thank you. A couple of questions. It looks like some of these are showing a reduction in revenue for the next fiscal year. One is fire, 772,602 to 742,641. Lighting is up a little bit. Wastewater up a bit. Water revenue down significantly, almost $400,000. What's behind the reduction in the revenue?
So some of those are related to project costs. So if the board authorized a budget transfer or a budget adjustment, they included a transfer for capital that shows up in the general operating account as revenue, even though it's not true revenue. I would have to look at those specifically, but most of those are due to that type of activity. We also don't budget interest, and we don't budget items that are not a guaranteed source. So although we do budget grants that are approved or are reasonably going to be approved, we don't budget for things that are not on that track, and we don't, like I said, we don't budget for interest, even though we do receive quite a bit of interest now. We don't budget that because that's not guaranteed.
Okay. Okay, any board comments or questions?
I have a question about the fire station renovation. What exactly, I thought we were going to build a permanent housing unit in the parking lot and keep the fire station as it is. Has that plan changed?
No, plan hasn't changed. It's just a small budget, so we can start working on some illustrations and possibly some drawings showing what our concepts are. I think the budget for the fire station renovation is about $5,300. It's a very small.
I see. Just housekeeping kind of stuff, or?
No, it's mainly for a little bit of design input and some elevation renderings, things like that.
I'm not sure I understand. On the existing fire station?
No, the new structure.
Oh, okay. So it's the living quarters?
It would be that and then some, yes.
Any other questions?
There I go.
Yep.
What, I hear different stories. Maybe you can straighten me up on this, Chief Scott. Anyway, the way I understand, you put the temporary housing there because you were going to put 2 more bays, not housing, on the north end of the fire station. Now, which one is which? Is it going to be housing, or is it going to be 2 bays for more engines?
So there were a variety of concepts, and the concept that makes sense at this point in time would be to not build the 3 bays that we talked about building on the north side of the fire station and retrofitting the existing building into living quarters, meeting rooms, and an ECC or EOC. In lieu of doing that, because renovation costs are more expensive than new construction costs, the concept is to build a new building that has the office space, the living space, the admin space, and a meeting room to the north of the fire station, and leave the apparatus bay as is, and modify the front to accommodate the sheriffs. So that's a concept that we're kicking around, but we haven't moved at any great speed on this. It's just, we're looking for some renderings. We do have some funding that's circling the airport with FEMA, and we had to resubmit letters of interest for that, letters of support for that. So we did that in May, the first part of May. So that money's still available, but it's a long way to go to get the final dollar amount to do what we're talking about doing. But new construction is going to be less costly than renovation.
Okay, I got another question. Then why did we spend $500,000 on that double wide trailer sitting down there?
I don't believe we spent $500,000 on the actual numbers in the financial report. That is to have a placement for fire department staff to spend the night and to have sheriff's deputies have a room to write reports. Now, the sheriff's deputies was all a concept that was brought to the board years ago, and the board was very invested and had a strong appetite for having the sheriffs in town and having space for them. That's how that project evolved. Originally, I was looking at a small trailer that could house 2 people we could put on the ground and move around. This is what it's evolved into because of the board's appetite to have the sheriff's department in town and to have the ability to increase our staffing model.
Which we're waiting on a grant for.
The grant was just released, so we're not really waiting on it, we're applying for it, but we have mechanisms to do things. And one of the priorities is to have, 24-hour coverage when coverage is not available. So having a place for people to stay provides that opportunity. So you're not restricted to having people solely from San Miguel. We can recruit people from other jurisdictions who are willing to come up for a day or 2.
So you gotta have the building before you can get the people, because it's for overnight. It's just unfortunate that it's still empty.
Yes,
So we're waiting on funding for that.
It's empty. So, but I guess just a little bit of clarification. Okay, now I'm talking about the north end. Now, is that building going to be attached to the existing fire station?
No, you'll have 10 feet of separation, 5 feet from each building.
That's what it's supposed to be. So, but and that's going to be for office space and.
It'll be for office space, living space, kitchen space, and meeting room potentially, or a training room.
Okay, you don't have plans for putting another bay in down there and buying another engine?
Once we're able to free up the space that's currently occupied on the footprint of the apparatus bay, we'll have enough room for 6 pieces of equipment, which would more than suffice. Or we could, if there's an opportunity to have a tiller or a quint, we would use 1 full bay for that. There'd be a ladder truck. And and then we could have 4 other pieces of equipment. So having the lockers moved off and moved into the interior space and having that reconfigured would greatly benefit the efficient use of the apparatus bay floor. And that's what the apparatus bay floor is intended to be used for. There are floor drains throughout for liquids, so when the engines come in, you could decon them, or if it's raining, they'll collect the water and then run all over the place. So it was designed as an apparatus bay. To reconstruct that would mean tearing up the slab, getting rid of those drains, reconfiguring plumbing, a great deal of effort. So through the process, it seems like this is the more streamlined, financially sound approach to expanding.
Will the training room be suitable for holding public meetings?
It depends on how big of a footprint we can get out of it and how big the meetings are going to be. It would be ideal if that would be the case because it would be downtown. But I don't really know because we haven't put pen to paper yet. We have a footprint that's approximately the same size as the existing fire station, maybe a little smaller. And the thought is to have living space on the second floor with the dedicated fire department access only, so it eliminates the elevator necessity and ADA compliant portion of it. All the ADA compliant portion would be on the ground floor. So with the 2-story structure that falls within the community design plan, and with living space above commercial space, that falls in the community design plan, so it should fit into the plan very well.
Well, my thought is you should absolutely incorporate a meeting space.
That would definitely
Because
be one of
there's
the
no
requirements. With restrooms downstairs, ADA compliant restrooms, we'd have to have multiples. And if we could get a room that would be big enough to house 50 people with the proper exit and egress, it's a potential. But then if you had a meeting that we were only able to house sub 50, 49 people, and you had a large meeting, we would have to relocate the meeting. So it would be in flux and have limitations. I haven't seen a meeting that's driven more than 50 people to our door.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
The 219 about 10 years ago, I think.
Right.
Anything else? Okay.
219 is a fire clinic training class.
Members of the public are now invited to provide their testimony as related to this item as part of the public hearing process. We request that each person who speaks give their name and address and also enter it on the sign-up sheet at the podium. Is there any public comment? Okay. Thank you. Any other final notes? Okay. We're going to move on to the next item.
Are you guys going to adopt it or reject it? We need an action on this item.
So we need to adopt or reject the budget, so if we have a motion to either adopt it or reject it.
Make a motion to adopt it.
I second.
Was that Director Sangster first, or?
Yes.
Okay, and then Brendan?
Yes.
Okay, let's have a vote. Have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 2025-12 to approve the San Miguel Community Services fiscal year 2025-26 operation and maintenance and capital improvement project. By Director Sangster, second by Director Beatty. Director Davis?
No.
Director Beatty?
Yes.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Green?
Yes.
Director Sangster?
Yes.
Passes 4-1-0 absent.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6.3.
Present this item. Just before we start, I want to make clear the conditions of these two this is going to apply to both these two public hearings. This is going to apply to both these public hearings. The conduct discussed in the censure requests occurred in closed session. The conduct of closed session is not confidential unless tied to the context of closed session. So no confidential information from the closed session that was discussed can be disclosed in discussion of these items without waiver of the board. And actually, the one item that we did discuss had to do with the personnel, and so you would have to obtain waiver from that personnel as well. So I encourage you to just keep your discussion to the conduct alone and not to the content of closed session. For The first item, discussion and direction to staff regarding disciplinary action against Director Smiley. Request was submitted pursuant to the board handbook, which establishes a procedure for disciplinary action against members of the board. The handbook provides that certain grounds for disciplinary action, as well as the process for implementing such disciplinary action. So what is before you today is review of the request for censure. This board, other than the board member who is the subject of censure, may discuss and decide whether to bring it forward for a formal resolution at a future meeting, or to implement a lower admonishment, or to reject the request for censure. You must allow Director Smiley an opportunity to respond. I do acknowledge that you said you were not prepared to respond and that you wanted to have your counsel here, but you will still have an opportunity to respond if you wish. The request for censure is attached to, there were two requests for censure, one from Director Green and one from President Sangster. They're both attached to the staff report, and I'll start with Director Green's, which alleges that Director Smiley has attacked his character in open session. He doesn't keep his comments or opinion to the subject matter, falsely accuses Director Green of intimidation because he faces him when speaking. He is disrespectful to his peers on the board. He is intentionally indifferent. He attends meetings with a predisposition. His decisions are made prior to public comment. And Director Green believes that he wrote false statements to the FPPC, causing an expense to district in time and money. President Sangster has alleged that Director Smiley engages in unnecessary and disruptive behavior. His comments are not respectful and often inflammatory. He cites a couple of examples in his staff report, which you may refer to, and he states that these instances occur typically when other directors disagree with his position, and it specifically references an attack on Director Green during the April 17th, 2025 closed session meeting that President Sangster attempted to intervene in to no avail. His conduct is alleged to be unbecoming of a representative of the board of directors and serves to divide the board. Those are not verbatim, the requests. If you want to review them, they're in the staff report. And so now the board may hold discussion and then allow Director Smiley to respond, and you must also hold public comment.
Thank you. Well, as a chair, it's my responsibility to ensure that there is order and decorum in the proceedings that we have.